Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Starks. I'm the founder and CEO of Champion Up. Today, we're going to learn about how to become a champion and overcome your number one obstacle. But before we do that, let's just debunk the word champion. It's a huge myth behind it. Many people think champions are just athletes or winning contestants. That's not true. Upon my conversations with a good mentor named Noah Webster, champion is basically an advocate, a defender, a warrior of a particular cause, and a push to see it come to a production. But that seemed a bit archaic for me. Champion should come back to a modern state, a human being of any gender, race, color, creed, background. As long as you have an idea, a vision, a philosophy about something, and you want to push it to your reality, and you're willing to overcome any challenge or obstacle, then you are going to be a champion. So I'm going to take the word champion back from the competitive state of society and bring it back to the human being and make it a creative process. So today in our short time together, I am going to take you on a personal journey where you're going to learn how to become your own personal champion and overcome your number one obstacle. On this journey together, we're going to learn three things: how I learned how to be my own champion through my obstacles. 2, why 70% of the people across the world, maybe even including yourself, are dissatisfied with life. And 3, how to take the number one action step to get you out of the uncertain position of your lives and to get you on the road of winning more with yourselves. How many of you want to do this? Yeah. All right, you got to say it. How many of you want to do this? Yeah. We have the champion up. In the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes, a mind that is stretched by a new experience can never return back to its old dimensions. Today, I'm going to stretch your minds to a new experience where you'll never return back to being stuck in life, unsure, uncertain. Because there's a lot of people right now across the world that are afraid of being their own champions. They're losing to life, and they're losing to themselves. According to the World Health Organization, there's over 300 million people who are suffering from depression worldwide. Of that number, 800,000 people are committing suicide. I mean, it gets even more alarming than this. That happens to be the second leading cause of death from people from ages 15 to 29 years of age. We're losing our future champions. It's because they have a story in their head, a way of thinking that's not matching up with their reality. The same story that we have in our heads that we're choosing to ignore. If you think you haven't been impacted by depression, think again. Have you ever felt pain, anger, sadness, exhaustion, uncertainty, doubt? These are all small fragments of depression, and they come together to make one negative self-image. And that language is, I can't handle it. The reality is you are a champion. You can handle anything that comes your way. But in order to handle those things that come our way, we've got to drop the old way of thinking. Because champions, they're on a new way of thinking. The old way of thinking is quite simple. We've heard this before, right? Go to school, get out, get a high-paying job, even if you hate it. And if you're lucky, you can retire at the age of 65. Does that sound appealing to anybody in this room? No. The reason why is this doesn't match up anymore. Going to school, you got to know why you're going. You got to have a vision, have direction. And having a job that you hate, you're taking this energy home to your families. You're ruining your personal relationships, and that's part of your value system. And then 3, retiring at age 65. We're discovering right now through scientific research that people are getting stronger from 70 and up. The brain is plastic. It can learn more. It can do more. So my good friend Dina Marie, she's a talk show host, she said that we should go from retire to re-inspire. And champions are all about inspiration. They believe in living a life of personal freedom that we all want, but we're unwilling to make the sacrifice for. Dr. Wayne Dyer had a quote that really inspired me. He said that there's no scarcity of opportunity to make a living at doing what you love. There's only scarcity of resolve to make it happen. But why do we have scarcity of resolve to make it happen? Oh, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. This is too hard. All limitations we put on ourselves. Champions believe in having personal freedom and taking the commitment to go on the road of uncertainty, to take the risk, because with personal freedom it comes one word: courage. Got to have courage. Maya Angelou said that courage is the strongest of all 7 virtues, because without it, we cannot exercise any of the others consistently. When I figured this out, I was like, I got to start working courage into my life. And when I did that, my life changed. And I'm going to help you do the same today. I'm going to help you work your courage muscle. Because 3.5 years ago, I was a hot mess. I just told my mentor, Karen, about this. I went through an unexpected divorce. Came out of left field. brought me to my knees. I was in that 300 million percentile. I was shameful. I was doubtful. I was angry. I was upset. But it got worse. I was so stuck, I thought about suicide. One day, I just decided I couldn't take my life. I wanted to give my life. But unfortunately, there's so many people across the world who don't get to that point. So I decided to get some help one evening, a Friday. I took bus 522, heading from downtown Seattle up to Lake City Way to see a good friend to talk about my situation. He wasn't there. I had to get off that bus, transfer back onto another one, because champions, I've learned this, we do not stop. We are persistent and we go the distance. So on the bus, I called my brother. We had a conversation. I gave him everything. I said, I'm done. I'm through. This is horrible. I can't take this anymore, man. Why did this happen to me? The conversation ended with him giving me a person's name, Les Brown. How many of you know Les Brown? Kind of popular these days, right? Les said one phrase that literally stretched my mind to a new experience. When life knocks you down, at least land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And on bus 522, I was sitting in my chair, and I was getting up in heart, mind, and spirit. And I looked up, and I had an epiphany. I saw a flickering light bulb. I thought about Thomas Edison, the scientist who took him thousands of times to get that filament inside turned on. And something that night turned on inside of me, champions. What's got you turned on right now? What's got you turned off about your life? That night I got turned on to a nickname I hadn't heard in years. The Champ. That's me on the right. Still handsome, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know that's right. And that's my Uncle Calvin on the left. Calvin gave me the nickname because he knew I was going to be someone great. I had optimism. I was willing to step into the unknown, the unsure, and make mistakes. That shirt just says it. Just do it. But I stopped doing it. I stopped being myself, stepping into my personal truth. We're not doing it anymore. Why? Because society is badgering us, making us believe that old story that we have to start dropping immediately because we're losing ourselves if we don't. So that night I got angry and I got liberated. I didn't want to be like Les Brown. No. I wanted to be like Adrian the Champ Starks. I wanted to help people become their own champions and overcome their obstacles. So I went on my own personal journey. I read voraciously. I went to workshops, seminars. I got in front of all audiences, shapes, and sizes. I made some mistakes, but I corrected them. And I came to you today in this person that I am to tell you, you all have a personal sacred birthright to be here on this planet, to plant yourselves into your own visions, to express yourselves through your personal power and deliver that service to the world no matter who says you can't. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're all champions. But I realized champions were not just walking around saying, champion up. They had to have a system because, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have systems, we will be wanderers. You'll wander back to what you did before and wonder why you're stuck again. So after doing research, I was thinking to myself, champions are doing something continuously that's making them stronger, conditioning them for winning. What is it? It's challenges. Then they went through goals. Then they had this relationship with time that was very interesting. I don't have a lot of time to go through all this today, but I'm going to start off with the very first one, challenge. I told you earlier about your number one obstacle, right? I'm going to help you overcome. It's good, you guys are listening. That is going to be you, always you. From my research, I've come to the realization that it's not obstacles, problems, or challenges that get people stuck. It's their perception toward them. They have a limited way of thinking that they can overcome it. Remember that language, I can't handle it. Champions have a language, I can handle it. They see the obstacle not as the end of the road, but as a bump in the road. They jump over it, go around it, go through it. But I kept asking myself, why? How are they doing that? They condition themselves to be uncomfortable. They put themselves into challenging situations daily. They get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we have to do the same. Because your obstacles, your challenges are going to come to you regardless. So how do we do that? How do we get uncomfortable? Because most people across the world, 70%, remember I told you, are dissatisfied with life. It's because they're bored. There's nothing going on. They're in this thing called the gray zone. And that is just basically, I want to be safe. I want to be secure. Nothing's going to happen to me, but there's no adventure. This thing flatlines, and at age 65, you're asking yourself, why did that old story not work for me? And then you pass it on to your children. To break this cycle of depression and suicide, we have to become our own champions by getting outside of this gray zone daily. That's where you find adventure. Adventure is where you get experience. Experience is where you learn lessons. Lessons teach us to stay away from that gray zone. And what better way to teach us a lesson than children? How many of you have children? Aren't they amazing? But don't they annoy you when you tell them not to do something, they do it over and over again? Well, it's a reason why they're the fastest learners on the planet, because they're willing to walk into the unknown, take risks continuously. They do it so much, they learn faster. 2.5 years ago, I was on the waterfront. I saw a young man about age 10 doing some amazing flips off sidewalks. I think it's called parkour. But what amazed me was not his flips, it was the way he was landing. Sometimes he would land on his feet perfectly. He would show a means of disappointment, shake his head. He would make the same attempt again, and then land on his back, his butt, or his face, and get up and dust himself off, give himself a double fist pump of enthusiasm. I was perplexed. Why shouldn't you land on your feet? That's the whole point, right? I was a bit of a quandary. So being the champion that I am, because we're seekers, we always want to go to our challenge, I began to walk to this kid with a winning curiosity, smiling, and I said, uh-oh, it's just me on the beach walking to someone's child, and I'm smiling. Let me stop. So I pulled myself back, but I could see at a distance that he had a circle drawn in the sand. He was jumping from the rocks into the circle. That circle was his magnet to pull him from the rocks. He didn't care how he fell. He just needed to get in the circle. And I thought about this. We need to set circles for ourselves to get ourselves out of the gray zone. I call them courage traps. And we put them there, and that way we jump. And no matter how we fall, we get in the circle, we get stronger over time. Same thing I did with my good friend David Della. He came to me 2.5 years ago because David had 2 major obstacles in his life. He had a job where his desire to leave was greater than his desire to stay. Second, someone very close to him committed suicide. David was against the rocks. He felt like he couldn't take anymore. He was losing to himself. I had to walk David through the 3 steps of champions. Remember I told you, challenges, goals, time. I did this extensively. And then I helped David set courage traps because David always wanted to run his own business. He wanted a new life. He wanted to start over again. But he feared doing that. And like Susan Jeffers in her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, I put David outside of his gray zone every single day. And I said, we've got to do this in order to build your business, to bring you some value and fulfillment and achievement in your life. David followed. Now David's running a very successful business out of one of the fastest growing cities in the Northwest, that's Seattle. David has lost weight. He looks great. He's got a smile on his face and enthusiasm to last for centuries. All because he decided to challenge himself. Walk into the unknown, the uncertain, take the risk to bring himself value, fulfillment, and achievement. You can do the same. I want you to look to your person to your right and left and say, it's time to champion up.
It's time to champion up.
That's right. And I want you to also say, it's time to challenge myself more.
It's time to challenge myself more.
Lai Tiezo, a great philosopher, said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. Martin Luther King Jr., a great equalitarian, said that faith is taking the first step even when we don't even see the staircase. Something about champions taking first steps in their lives out of the gray zone. So I'm going to help you start doing that today, the action step I promised you. Each day, you should write on a sheet of paper the word challenge. Underneath challenge, draw a circle. In that circle, write the challenge that you need to do, the thing that you dread most. Outside the circle, write courage trap. This will give you a visual perspective of this is what's going to help my courage, because that's how you're going to stretch that muscle. And each day you should be challenging yourself to do something else that's uncomfortable for you. Some examples. Saying yes to an event when you should say yes, even if it scares you. Saying no to someone when you should say no. I had a problem being direct with people. Taking better care of your body. This body is a vehicle to your success. Eating healthier foods, reading more, because although we're experts, we need to know more about ourselves. And this is how we work our courage muscle daily. The same thing I did with my business. I began to work myself daily, setting traps for myself. Coming from Seattle to Vancouver, going to the events, reading more, studying more, applying more. Being here for you guys today was a courage trap. You're here and you're expanding and you're growing. The same thing that Robert Frost did, a great American author and poet. Have you heard of Robert Frost before? Yes. Robert had a poem called Road Not Taken. In this poem, he had something very powerful that really is going to be representative of today. He said that 2 roads diverged into the woods, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference in the world. 2 roads. And he took the one less traveled by? Most people, 70% in the gray zone, would have taken the road traveled by, but he took the one not traveled by. That was uncertainty. That was the territory of being unsure. But he carried himself over that road, and those obstacles became the road bumps for him. He got better over time. He wrote more poems, became more exposed, and became the titan of the poet that he is today. You all can do the same by going on the road less traveled, becoming the champions in your lives, in your personal lives, in your business lives, because the word champion belongs to the human being who's willing to create a lifestyle for themselves. It doesn't belong to the competitor. It belongs to the creator. And you have that ability to create. I want you to all step into that personal power you have and begin to champion up to your lives. I want you to champion up your hearts, champion up your minds, champion up your spirits, because you need to believe in that championing you. And this is Adrian Starks. I want you to have a successful life, and I want to see you on your winning side. If you go to championup.net, you can find out more about how to be a champion and overcome your obstacles. Thank you, everyone.